These are all the questions, if you can just answer them the best you can.
Okay.
Right, could you introduce yourself, please?
Well, my name is Maria, and I'm a student at Shidin University, and I study Chinese. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what brought you to China?
Okay, well, I can say I was following a boy. That was the first reason. Then the other reason, I wanted to study Chinese. I wanted to study something different. And I thought China is the place because I kind of find the rest of the world is kind of getting all the same, and I knew that China has something different, so I came here.
So you wanted to experience something a bit more authentic?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, excellent. So, you know, so far, how do you feel about living in China so far?
Well, I think it's a great experience. It's been really great, but at first it wasn't really great. Because maybe I wasn't really prepared. For example, I knew that China, people don't speak English, but I really didn't know it's that much. So when I just got here, I just thought maybe I could ask you, hey, where is the place? And maybe you can tell me just turn right. Maybe just simple English. But then it turns out people can't speak English at all. So I just got something like Timbudong. So life was really hard. Even getting maybe something to eat. When I got to a restaurant, maybe I had to do some actions, like I'll do this when I needed to eat chicken. So life was really hard, and also I had trouble with the weather. I come from Kenya, and Kenya is a tropical country. Even if people think that the place should be hot, it's not hot or cold. We don't have winter, and we don't have summer. So when I got here, I got told it's going to be cold, but that was not the kind of cold I was expecting, so I just took a sweater. Life was really bad for me. I had never used an air conditioner before. I didn't even know when an air conditioner was working or not, so if I would go to a hotel room, the place is still cold and I still don't know it. I just think, oh, this thing is working, then why am I still freezing? Or maybe all air conditioners are like that. So my life was really hard. I didn't even know how to dress. And also the food, I wasn't used to the food because I don't usually eat a lot of spicy food. I don't eat spicy food. But turns out that this food without this much spice is great food. So I think within some time I adjusted, and first of all, I like Chinese food. It's great. There's a variety of it. You can basically find all the cooking, maybe for the same chicken cooked in like 1,000 ways. It's great. Actually, I love food. Really great. And I think something else that I really like about China is there's that feeling of security, like you're safe.
I was about to ask you that. Where do you feel safer, in Kenya or in China?
In China. A lot safer. Like in China, you just don't go to the park. No, in Kenya, you just don't go to the park and just sit there and even doze off. I mean, here you can just sleep there for a while before you know where to go. And everything is okay, but back home, you could get mad, you know. I think it's really safe here. Yeah, I think I've been liking the place. The more I learn Chinese, the more I kind of find myself.
Yes.
I realize I'm somewhere now. I think the place is great, and the people are really kind. Back home, you don't just get somebody telling, oh, drink this water, drink some water. Oh, okay, it's cold, put on a sweater. My mom would tell me that, but not just anybody. So I think people are really great.
Do you think that is a quality that the Chinese people have? I mean, you've lived here more or less 6 years now, haven't you? 6 years? Yes. So would you say they're like that with you purely because that's the quality the Chinese people have, or do you think they're doing it because you're a foreigner?
Maybe both.
Yeah.
But I think the big part is their quality. But it's more now that I'm a foreigner.
Ah.
And I enjoy it. It's good.
So it kind of pushes that quality to the next level.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, living in China, you know, this is a question I asked someone in an interview before. I mean, have you ever came across any stereotypes as a black African woman here in China? You know, any stereotypes directed towards you?
Oh yeah. First of all, being black here is really a sight. You know, there are not many black people. So wherever you go, people are looking forward to knowing you. But before they know you, they already have a certain mentality.
Yes.
So the first thing they do is try to guess. This person is black. This must be from Africa. But again, Africans should be very poor, you know. And there is no way this person is poor. This is not poor. So now they will go to the next one. Let's say, India. But how black can she get? Yes, some of them just think I'm from India. But then, how black can she get? And they'll go like, yeah, in India there's some black. No, she's too black. Now there's one more place because they know of the President of America, Obama. So they will go like, yeah, now this is an American. So they ask me, some of them even forget to say hi. They just go, where are you from? And I'm like, hey, hello, ni hao. And then I'll tell them I'm from Kenya. Surprisingly, they don't seem to get like, Kenya is a country. They just want to believe. They don't care. It's Africa. Oh, Fejo. Okay. Well, I'm fine with it. But still, I kind of read the disappointment in their face. They wanted me to be from America or somewhere because maybe you just don't look like what they were expecting.
Right, so when they run towards you and they're like, oh, you're not from America, and they're a little bit disappointed, or they're instantly staring at you and you have these prejudices, or these, well, I'm not sure prejudice, you know, just kind of ideas, that you have no money, that kind of thing. Do you think they mean to be kind of, you know, do you think they mean to be insulting? Because someone might take that as really insulting. Oh, you're African, so you must have no money. Some people could be really insulted by that. Do you think they really mean that? If you ever do get insulted by it, do you think they mean to insult you?
Well, maybe at first I thought they were just annoying. They meant to be insulting. But then later I've seen the Chinese people as people that are eager to learn, you know. It's not because they hate you, it's because they don't know. Because they'll go with some follow-up questions like, is your family rich?
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
And do you have a lot of money? You know, and are you from the city? Like, it's all, they just need the information. And I think once they get the information, they're fine with it. It's like, they relate to that, like, fine, maybe Africa is not so bad as I thought.
Yeah, it's a kind of, yeah, you know, me myself, I find that a lot of the questions I get asked are often based around my financial situation and money. How much do you earn? How much was your t-shirt? How much is the rent for your apartment? You know, I've had people ask me, how much does your father earn in the UK? I mean, I don't even know that. And I explain, you know, I really don't have that information. You can't ask those questions in the West. But I don't think they understand, because to them it's a very much a normal question, but when I explain to them, that's a rude question in the country where I come from. If I ask someone how much they earn, but I actually don't quite think they understand.
Yeah, I think it's not just about that question. There are a lot of personal things that Chinese people like to ask.
Yes.
Like, they will just ask you, when will you get married? You know? Maybe that question came immediately after, how old are you? Okay.
Yes, it does.
And so, well, me too, I tell them it's not appropriate to ask such kind of questions, but they just go like, oh, do-ba-chi.
Yeah, it's but I often get the impression that they don't understand when you explain it. So I mean, I don't like those questions, but I try to answer them the best I can. The only question I don't like answering is how much money do you earn? And I just often joke and I say, not as much as you. And they think it's funny, but sometimes they keep prying and asking questions. How much do you earn? So I've often given them a roundabout figure, but then they start wanting specific numbers.
And converting to currencies.
Yes, yeah, that's another thing I've noticed. They're very good at converting currencies really quick. Like, oh yes, well right now the British pound is worth this much in China, the American dollar is worth this much in China. And I'm like, wow, how do they know all this knowledge? Like, to me, I wouldn't care less how much the US dollar is compared to the British pound, but they seem, or the US dollar compared to the Chinese yuan, but they seem to have all this knowledge, yes.
Yes. Well, for me, it usually depends with the mood. I'm not always so nice every day. Like, it depends with when you ask me these questions. Like, you just take a taxi, it's very early in the morning, oh God, I'm so sleepy. And the first question you ask me, oh, you're a student, how much school fees do you pay? I'll just say, okay, 10,000 per month. 10,000 per month? Well, sometimes I just give random figures. Or maybe they'll just ask me, is your father rich? Is your family rich? Yeah, my mom owns 2 ships and my dad 2 planes. But then comes another day, I'm in a good mood and I'm ready to reason. And I just let them know, because I know they just maybe don't hate you. They're just ignorant, or maybe they just lack the information.
It's ignorant, but not in a bad way, is it? It's just, I don't think, if you know what I'm saying, I don't think it's ignorant in a bad way. It's just ignorant that they're not aware of different cultural...
Maybe lack of exposure.
Yes, lack of exposure. They're not familiar with cultural differences.
Yeah, that's it. Lack of exposure.
So, I mean, do you ever find that the colour of your skin can have an influence when it comes to making Chinese friends here in China? Can it have an influence at all?
It has a big influence, but it's a good influence.
Really?
Because people like being friends with me, but what I really don't know if they like being friends with me, really, me, oh, this black girl. So I have a lot of Chinese friends, and it's very easy to make friends. I don't even make an effort, okay? But there's a small problem with that, because your definition of friend maybe could be, well, we have different definitions of friend.
Yes.
To me, a friend is not just someone who says hi to you today, someone who is with you all the happy times, and then comes the bad times, I have no idea what we have in common, okay?
Yes.
So I think the friends I make a lot here are just casual friends. They're very easy to make.
Yes.
But I kind of feel they really don't get me. They can go past my skin color, because you, as a person, there is that you.
Yes.
For example, me, maybe I'm clumsy. Not maybe, I'm really clumsy. Clumsy, I lose things. And if you're my real friend, by now you should know that you shouldn't leave me your keys, because later, before I know it, I don't know where. They're gone, okay?
Yes.
So my real friends, they know that, don't go to that. No. Don't give her. So I think my Chinese friends, they still haven't gotten to learn me. They just still can see past my color. Despite what I do, I'm still that perfect person. And I'm never perfect. So I think I will know I have a friend when just one person notices how clumsy I am,
Yes.
how messy I am. That's
when they notice the small details. Do you think a lot of the time they're your friend because they're curious, maybe they're intrigued, they want to know more about, you know, a black African girl?
Yeah, they need to know a lot. Basically, it's like, they start with me. Myself, I'm just that mystery they want to solve, starting from maybe my hair. And somebody just told me, hey, I just can't believe that people's hair can grow this way. Can I see a picture of your family members? And I showed my sister, oh my God, how do you feel, you know? Like, they really want to know, are you the only one like this? And they will ask me, are all people in your country tall? I'm not tall, you know that. But turns out here, among the girls, I'm tall. Okay. So I kind of think I'm an example, sort of. They just take me and assume maybe everybody's like that. Yeah, that's it.
Now, I'm not sure if you're the best person to ask this question too, because obviously you're a student, you're not working, but you know, I assume you do have black African friends.
Yes, I do.
Now, have they told you about any difficulties that they possibly face when looking for things like teaching work here in China, or looking for work in general?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot. First of all, I think in China there's something, I think it's kind of strange that the only job here is teaching. Yeah, okay, not really only job, but the major, like everybody I don't want to use the word everybody. Most of the people working here are teaching English. It's probably the most available opportunity here.
Yes.
And most black African, wait. I need to point out that in China, first of all, there is a law that if you're a student, you are not allowed to work, which maybe compared to other countries, you would expect if you're a student part-time, you can make some extra money from work. But here, you have to have the proper documentation.
Yes, you do.
So some of my friends have the proper documentations and they are working, teaching, but it's kind of hard for them maybe to switch jobs. Like before you switch job, you really have to think about it. Why? Because the schools prefer white teachers, and maybe being from Africa, you're black, and they have this mentality that Africans don't speak English. Well, as you can see, I'm speaking English. So they're wrong, okay? So maybe the parents, the parents just assume that, no, we wouldn't want an African teacher. The African teacher doesn't speak English.
Oh yeah, I get people, you know, who run training centres. They'll send me a message, hey Gary, can you find a foreign teacher for one of our, one of our clients? It's one-to-one. I was like, yeah, no problem. And then they'll send, but the teacher can't be black. And I'm like, why is that? And they'll say, oh, because, well, you know what Chinese parents are like. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, if that's the criteria, I really don't want to be looking for a job because it's going to make me look racist. I'm not going to help you looking for a job. Hey, I've got a friend who wants a foreign teacher, but they have to be white. You know, I can't put that on on a foreign group chat on a WeChat because it makes me look racist when all I'm doing is just looking after someone else's interests. Their interests make me look racist.
Yeah, that has happened to me too, because I have a friend. Yeah, she called me and told me, hey, can you please find me a teacher? And then I found a teacher. Oh my, please, I need a white teacher. Oh, because, you know, the parents just want a white teacher. All right, luckily I had a desk mate. Actually, they are a couple, a girl and a boy, but they're French, you know. They can barely speak English. And I said, okay, because she kept pressuring me, please do something, please do something. And the desk mate, like, okay, can you teach English? It's just this weekend. And she, well, fine, yeah. They did the job, but she can't even speak English, you know. But the other friend that I know, she has proper qualification. Actually, the person has a lot of teaching experience. He's worked in the UK. And not just experience, like the credentials are really good, you know. But they still opt for these ones. No teaching experience, no papers. And just, you're white, you're qualified. I kind of find that a little weird.
I know we've had problems finding a math teacher because even the centre where I work, a lot of the time they do prefer white teachers because it's, you know, although it's in a high school, I'm working for an international department and oh my God, what's that outside? Is that firecrackers or something?
Yes, they're firecrackers.
That would be interfering with the sound. And anyway, what's happened in the high school where I am is a lot of the parents, they pay a lot of money to send their kids on these 3-year international programs where they do their SAT, academic reading and writing, TOEFL, all that kind of thing before going to the US or Canada, etc. And we've been told if we have any black members of staff, that could seriously affect potential future clients. But what they've done is purely because they had problems finding a math teacher. They've hired a guy who's he's almost finished his PhD and he's teaching mathematics, and the students absolutely love him because he's an intelligent guy, really organised, brilliant with maths. I think he's from Cameroon, and he speaks 4 different languages, so that just impresses the students completely. And I think it's fantastic for the students because he has an accent as well. You know, he has a bit of an accent. English is his second language, or third, or fourth. I'm not sure which one, but it's one of those. And I think it's only good for the students because they're getting exposure to a new accent, a new dialect or whatever. And also they're meeting someone from a different part of the world as opposed to the US or the UK.
Yes, sure. Well, I think that is something maybe China needs to improve on. I just don't know how they can do it, but maybe slowly. Slowly maybe they will improve it. I think also I've heard of some of my friends, the parents, if maybe a teacher quit, the teacher quit. I mean, that friend quit. The parents maybe make a lot of complaints, and it's like they're slowly accepting it, maybe. So.
Ah, right, I see. So when they, I mean, have you ever heard of any of your friends where they've had to come in as a replacement? Some of your African friends where they've had to replace a white teacher and they've had, you know, a negative experience. Or I'm sure there must be those stories you have as well where they're expecting a really negative experience, but it turns out they've had a fantastic experience. Does that happen as well?
Yeah, well, I think maybe the fantastic experience happens if there was another black teacher sometime in the line.
Oh,
maybe they were ever taught by a black teacher before, then maybe like 3 white teachers followed, and then somewhere you show up. So they're like, now we can relate to this. Yeah, I've had that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so, I mean, overall, would you recommend people to come to China for the experience of working or, in your case, studying?
Yeah, sure. I think China has a lot to offer. You should come to China, really. I mean, first, experience it firsthand. Don't just wait for us to tell you how it is. If you, I'm sure you are gonna love it. Everybody is gonna love the place. If you went apart from these little things here, like working, eventually you get over it. Because if, for example, you have a problem finding a job, once you get the job, you've gotten the job. Okay, so the rest is history. Oh, the place is great, really.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give to people who are planning on coming to China? Now, specifically Africans or black Africans, even because I'm mentioning Africans as though all Africans are black, and they're not. I mean, you only have to go to South Africa to find millions of white people. But in your experience, I mean, what advice would you give to people, you know, specifically black Africans who are planning on coming to China?
First, I think I have a lot of advice. To begin with, whatever country you are from, just be ready that it's not your fault that you're black, okay? It's just them that they had never seen black people before. So if you ever get here and everybody's staring and you kind of feel like, am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Just remember, you're doing the right thing, okay? Well, the next thing is just be prepared. Don't think just because you come from Africa and you think some places in your country people don't speak English and you just think it's the same here. People here really, lots of them don't speak English, barely speak English. I mean, so just carry a lot of dictionaries and translators and maybe take some courses before you begin your journey here. You don't want to get stranded because half of the time that I spent here, I struggled because of the language. Like, just get to know something before you get here. Just get to know some basic language before you get here. And another thing, because I've heard that some parts of, well, Africa is hot. People tell me Africa is hot. Did you ever think that Africa is hot?
Yes, we have the impression that it's hot. But I also understand in certain parts of Africa it can get cold during the winter. Yes, of course.
Okay.
It's a big continent, so it's going to have different climates around the place, isn't it?
Yes. Also, I haven't been to other parts of Africa, but if many people think it's hot, then maybe it's really hot. So that means you haven't experienced the cold. So maybe prepare for the cold, and it's not just little cold. This is not a China problem. It's just you because you come from a place that is not cold. Just get layers and layers of cold. Read the weather before you get here, and also getting the right paperwork. If really you want to work in China, make sure you have the working papers. There is no middle way. It's either you have the working papers or you don't. You're a student, you have the student papers or you don't. There is no student worker, there is no worker student. I have some friends who are working and they want to study something. They have working visas and they kind of feel like, oh, can I just have this half page working and half page studying? But it doesn't work that way. So decide with your papers. And also be ready for the great food. The food is great, but I kind of find that there's a little problem with hygiene. Basically, mainly for the street food. There's a lot of street food, a lot of delicious street food, but a lot of it is not so maybe hygienically prepared. I don't know if it's the dust because of the passing
And the
cars,
traffic.
the buses, yes. But when I got here, I had a lot of stomach upsets, and every day I was in and out of hospital. So you better choose wisely what you eat. I don't know if you can take some medicine with you. I don't know the rules of the airport. And lastly, I think there are a lot of people in China. Like, I'm Kenyan, and when you go to Kenya, the first thing you get is, where are people? You know, and then you hope by the time you clear the airport gates, you're going to see people. And that's when it gets worse. There's nobody. Okay. So in China, there's a lot of, you can see people everywhere. The traveling is not easy, you know. And the subway, just when you think that the subway is full, that's when you realize it's just begun. So, but I like China because there's the spirit of sharing, you know. People like to share. Maybe back home, if you're in a lift and the lift is full, people will just go like, hey, take a hike. It's full, can't you see? But here, people tell you, oh, there's space. Yeah, no space, keep pushing. So just get used to it. Don't feel like, oh no, just get along, flow with it. Just let's share. That's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's about it. That's all my questions done. Thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm.
That was very good. Thanks.
Yes. Welcome. Apart from the fireworks.